Well, good evening and welcome everybody to another Full Sail University online class. My name is Steve Kane, and once again I am here with the Audio Workstations class as we are hitting our week 4 Tuesday lecture. And tonight, as I was telling them, it's basically a big review of what we've been doing all month long. And then we're going to look on how to turn in our projects the right way, making sure we get everything going on. I want to thank Keith, Kyle, Miles, Stan, and Trey all for being here in the live classroom tonight. Glad to have you here as we rock out this Tuesday, August the 27th. We got a handful of minutes after 7 p.m. The heat is finally starting to break, just a degree and a half or so. We're all getting ready for that Labor Day weekend, so buckle up your seatbelts, keep those hands and legs inside the vehicle at all times, and let's get this party started! Well, as soon as that trumpet player runs out of breath. Oh my gosh, that's the last time I'm going to say that this month. What? Trey's going, where are all the effects going on? I want to hear more effects. Well, they come and they go, man. So, we're going to rock out this review tonight as we take this whole month in review. Answer any last-minute questions. As always, I'm going to stick around after class and talk about the meaning of life. No, I'm kidding. We do solve problems, though. We are able to screen share and all that kind of fun stuff. And a lot of people usually end up saying, oh, wow, that was pretty easy. So, with that being said, hey, do y'all know how many conductors it takes to screw in a light bulb? I couldn't tell you. Nobody ever really looks at them. Oh, that's a good old classical music joke. All right, so all month long as we've been going through this, and thank you for being here with us in Audio Workstations. It's been a pleasure taking you through the 101 and 110 curriculum. And just as the same place that you find those 110 and 101 books, you find your remix project guidelines. And that's what we've been hitting every week for the last 4 weeks. And we are wrapping up and figuring out how to turn this puppy in. Now, I'm not going to read this to you, but it says, for this project, you're going to create a remix. See, folks, that's called comedy through a repetition. You like that? So, no, but as you've been going through it, basically, we have imported a song. We have tempo mapped it out, so we made sure that the click track matched the original song. And then we marked it all up as far as sections, as, you know, choruses and verses and intros and outros and all that kind of stuff. And then we played around with our copying and pasting and duplicating and all that fun stuff, and maybe did a new arrangement, a new little dance remix. I remember back in the 80s, they were named such clever things like, you know, Def Jam Radio Mix or something like that, you know. Freaky Car Saturday Night, Don't Let Mom Listen to Mix, or whatever it was, you know. But they had some crazy names back in the day. But that's what I'm talking about, just doing some cutting and pasting and making your own little arrangement. So let's look over here and see what we did on week 1. So I imported the song Take Me, and we brought in all of our original files, and we tempo mapped them, and we use, well, you tell me, what function did we use to do the tempo map? Actually, I guess I should have done this one. What function did we utilize in order to find our tempo? Identify beat. Thank you, Miles. And by the way, just reminding everybody, you're allowed to interact with me and type out the answers as I ask questions. Isn't that awesome? It's kind of funny how you say that. So, uh, hey Miles, I'll tell you what. I give you something for being the only one to answer. I'll give you a little joke you can use on people. Do you know what IDK stands for? Man, and I thought you would, being all clever, kid and all. Get it? Pretty good, right? It's like I asked my mom what IDK meant, and she said I don't know, and she got mad at me because she says I thought you were so smart. Oh lordy, lordy. All right, so yeah, we did identify beat, and I wanted you to do that every 2 to 4 measures throughout the song because we needed our click track to go with it. Actually, let's rewind it. Let's turn on our clicky poo track, is the technical term for it. Did anybody remember the quick key to turn that on and off like this? I'm not clicking on it, by the way. Anybody remember that? I'll give you a hint. You're lucky if they can play to the click track.
Take me to paradise. Take me to paradise.
You know what? I think, this is before. Let's open up another session. This is my drums. Hang on. Be right back. All right. Now, so here's what we did.
Take me to paradise where the palm trees are spiking. Got you in the air, we got everybody. Take me to where the boats we always ripping.
All right. And then, so what we did is we got our parts of the song. And so we did our markers. And that one doesn't have it, but I started chopping up the vocals and arranging it. So let's look down at the rubric and see what happened in week 1 then. So big couple of zeros, right? If you don't get audio files in your project, that is going to get you a 0 by all means. And you know what? I feel bad. I should have had that up there. Where is that? Yeah, I should have. Yeah, that will get you a 0. Sorry about that. Is that better? Is that better? All right. And then the other things that, because we were learning about the DAW, right, and the MIDI tracks, we wanted to make sure that you're using MIDI for everything. Because if you don't, you're going to get a 0. We're going to see how many different ways we can say 0 tonight. What's the red square in the corner of the plugins is a question asked by Miles. Now, he's talking about this little red square. Are you correct? You right? Yeah. All right. That is my wife's favorite button in Pro Tools. And if you hold over it, see it says target button? You see that? And it's her favorite button because there's not a Publix button in Pro Tools. For those of you that don't live in Florida, Publix is the grocery store. I swear my wife owns stock in Publix. But so she likes Target. Now, all right, so now check this out. Here's what it does. This is the most misunderstood button, right? If the target is on and you get a new plug-in, it's gonna go to the target. Right? Let's do it this way. And see how it went? And now my old plugin is gone. And if I click back on this, it goes to the target and my old plugin is gone. Now, if I wanted to look at both of them, right? So I take the target off, I go look at the other one and just simply move it out of the way. Right? So it allows you to open up more plugins. It's the target button. All right, very good question. So then we got our different parts of the song, our intros and choruses, and we did that. After we did identify beat, then we were able to use what mode to lay those markers in, those memory locations. Do be do do be do be do be do ba do 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 ba da ba do shoot be do. Trey is in with grid mode. Keith and Miles in with a close second, and Miles for the show. So yeah, grid mode, and then we made sure that we set it to a ba to make it easy as so far, and then that's what these are, right? And that way it's easy to select your song. Now, I only did the first little bit. I do expect you to do the whole song. So let's jump down back into the rubric. So when we started it, we named it first name, last name, and then the song name. Please don't, I cannot tell you how many people leave the actual word song name on there, and I have to take off 5 points. It is silly. Silly, silly, silly. We're doing a 24-bit 48 file. We're making sure we got WAV files and the stereo files are interleaved. That is all a week one thing. We're making sure that the metronome, aka C lick track, locked to the song tempo from the beginning to the end. That we had a minimum of 5. That's Cinco de Marco. Right? Get it? Cinco de Marco. 5 markers used in the song to establish the song structure. Miles in with the fly question. He says, how can you change those settings after you start a session? So, Miles is probably not asking because he just wants to know. He's probably asking because he needs to, right? Now, and he's like, that sounds just like me. I see, it's that mental telepathy, right? So check it out. Here's what Miles would do. If Miles was stuck in the situation where he went under the setup menu and his session was not of the correct parameters, aka 48K 24-bit interleaved WAV files, what he might want to do is do a Save copy in and change it right here, yo. What? But Miles would never need to do that. He was just simply asking for what ifs because he wants to be a scarecrow, you know, outstanding in his field. All right, so how's that? All right, very good. I know I get pretty good at impersonations. I get people, especially when I've never met them before. That's the coolest part. All right. All right, so let's go back to our there. So all right, so that is it for our week one. So give me a W1 if you are down with week one. Give me a question mark if you need to pause to ask a question about week one. Miles, thank you. Trey, thank you. Stan, thank you. Keith, thank you. Who else is here? Somebody, we got some people making sandwiches, don't we? Rodney's there. I have to admit, I'm not a paid spokesman, but has anybody tried that peach bubbly? Holy moly, that is some good stuff. You, Keith asked if we do a save copy in, if it would save the sample rate, and that's a great question, Keith. Keith from Minnesota asks, doing a save copy? Actually, no, that was Miles' voice. Keith sounds like this. He says, man, if we took them sample rates like that, can we change them right there in that session like that? And I say, Keith, yes, sir. That's how you can do it. Keith's like, all right, man, I got that. All right, man, cool. Did I nail it? Is that how you sound, Keith? Yep. I knew it. I knew it. All right. So yes, Keith, very good. All right. He says he's from L.A., Lower Alabama. All right, it's a good thing, man. All right. So let's see. We're good with week one then. All right, let's go to week two. Don't freak out. You know, it's kind of like when the lights go out in the classroom in kindergarten. I've got to blank out for a quick second while I open up week two. Here we go. All right, be right back. Alrighty then. Now, let's see. First off, let's go down and go back up to week two. And week two, as I told you, the rhythm is going to get you. The rhythm is going to get you. The rhythm is going to get you tonight. Now, one of the things that we stressed is that you want you to use all the plugins that we gave you. Please don't use extra plugins because otherwise you will get points deducted. Deducted. All right, so we don't want any of that. Ain't nobody got time for that. That's like an internet joke from the 1900s. Ain't nobody got time for that. Was that actually in the 1900s? Or is that 2000s? Man, it was just like a long time ago. Ain't nobody got time for that. So anyway. So that's what this is saying. Please just use the regular plugins. Nobody knows. They're like, I don't know. I wasn't born yet. All right, make sure that you use the stems to track the rhythm and then only use the vocals. Otherwise, you're going to get a 0. All right, so now we got this going on.
Take me to paradise. Take me to paradise, paradise, paradise.
So everybody's like, oh my goodness, that sounds so awesome. Actually, they're probably thinking, it sounds so awesome. Makes a difference, doesn't it? So, yeah. So, in that, what you heard in that virtual bevy of rhythmic goodness, you heard at least 3 tracks of main rhythm, kick, snare, and hat. Right? And if you want to do like a clap instead of a snare, I'm down with that. Then we heard layered on top of that 3 tracks of what I call Prince, right? Just like cool little rhythm stuff that's not doesn't carry the main context of the song rhythm. They just add a little sugar and spice and everything nice, right? Some shakers, some tambourines. And if you don't want to use an exact shaker or tambourine, that's fine. If you want to use like a clave and a timbale, kungas, whatever, just label it as second rhythm, please. And then if you've got a cool loop you want to use, you can use a cool loop too. Now, remember, you're going to leave all the MIDI tracks in the session so you don't get a zero. All right. So, with that being said, all right, 6 tracks in total. Right? Let's go down and look at the rubric for week 2 stuff. So, contains Hey, do you know what the thesaurus had for breakfast? A synonym roll. Synonym roll. Synonym roll. A synonym roll. Not a cinnamon roll. A synonym roll. Get it? A thesaurus. Oh my gosh. All right. Now, so check it out. Check it out. All of these are 5 points each, but check it out. You're saying, so if I don't do the kick, do I get like 1 point or 2 points? Because 5 points isn't divided by 3. Guess what? You get all 5 deducted. It's all or nothing. Did I make my point? Right? All or nothing. That's what it be. I can't sing that song very well. You know what song I'm like? All or nothing. That's what it be. Give me kick and snare and hat, or I'll take off 5 points of thee. And the secondary rhythm as well. I know I only put it on 1 point, but guess what? If I don't see 3 of them there, you lose all 5. How you like that? 5 alive, baby. All right. Now, let's see. All right, we're good. So give me W2 for week 2. You're like, I don't want to give you W2. Give me W2 for week 2. Give me a question mark if you've got a question. You need me to pause for a minute for a question. Give me a capital J if you just need to hear another joke. Miles has a question. Nobody is saying joke. So while Miles is typing up his question, guess what? What do you call a guitar player without a girlfriend? Homeless. Kyle forgot that he was watching live. He tried to pause me for a second. All right, Miles says, I gotta figure out Miles's voice again. Oh yeah. If our counter melody doesn't come in until later in the song, do we need to indicate that in the comments so you don't miss it. Actually, Miles, remember when we're bouncing, I like you to commit all tracks starting at measure one. And so we will be able to, and you're going to see that later on. So that's fine. And I'll just see that it's there and then we'll go look for it. But I appreciate you asking. That was a great question. Um, Matter of fact, I've got a question for you, Miles. Yep. Do you know what the difference between a bassoon and a and an oboe is? Well, you see, a bassoon burns longer when you set it on fire. You burn it. All right. So that was our rhythm, and it was fat. It was dope. It was terrific. It was like, and we started like this. We did like one.
Take me to paradise.
I love that. Bam, bam, da, ba, ba, ba. Listen.
Take me to paradise. Take me to paradise.
I like that. All right. So we're going to hit save. Let's go to week 3 and we will jump in there. All right. We're opening a session. Be right back as we find our week 3 instruments. Come on. Come on. All right. So that one we started at 1920. We started at 2015. Let's get that one. Were y'all scared when the lights went out? So Miles said LOL what? And I'm guessing he is meaning why did the bassoon burn longer than the oboe? And Miles, it is because it is bigger. It's approximately 300% larger than an oboe. It is still made out of wood, and therefore it would burn longer. Now, I'm not sure if it would burn 300% longer, but it is about 300% bigger. But it does beg the question, what are oboes good for then? Right? Well, kindling, of course. So, now for that's the small pieces of wood that starts the fire. All right. I love explaining jokes. It makes it much more fun. All right. So here's what we did. As you see in the tracks window, first we're going to go over to week 3, or as my French friends say, week 3. And we started bringing in a chord chart. I want to remind everybody, please only use the instruments that are provided in this class. They are the Air Instruments and the Air Creative Collection. All right, so please don't use any cool plugins that you might have made. All right, so with the stems, there were also chord charts that you could look at. So we had you open up the chord chart in the PDF and start changing your score editor by inserting the chord changes in the chord ruler that you got under the view menu rulers, where you can see most rulers except Henry VIII. I'm waiting for people to laugh on that one. There is a comment here in the live chat room. Miles says, I feel strange. I feel a strange disturbance in the force, like thousands of oboe players suddenly cried out at once and then were silenced. And Miles, I think what that was the squeak of the double reed, brother. All right. So we left these vocals in. We started arranging this, and honestly, I think when we left this, I absolutely hated it, and we made new music last night.
Take me to paradise. Take me to paradise,
Yeah, I absolutely hated that. So, but let's go open up what we did last night, so at least we can have something nice to talk about, shall we? So, open sesame. I quickly redid that because I was like, holy cow, this sounds so awful, so awful. Be right back. Alrighty then. Miles has now said, "Poor oboe players. Don't make don't make fun of oboe players. They picked that instrument." Bam, bam.
take me to paradise. Take me to paradise, paradise, paradise. Take me to paradise. Take me to paradise. Take me to paradise with the palm trees.
All right. So we did that, and let's pretend that that's all we did. And so we did a chord chart in the editor window. So we're going to be able to look up into La Editor window, which is just French for the editor window, right? Holy gizmos. Let's just pretend that we were going to do it for the strings part. So what we want you to do is give yourself a little credit, remixed by your name. I call myself Ice Kane. Now, let's talk about this. I went with Ice Kane because in the 80s you had like Ice Cube, Ice T, right? You had everybody was Ice this, right? And then you have the iPhone thing, like iPhone and iPad. And what happens is my they misspelled my last name on this thing. My last name is actually Kane. So when they put Steve Kane, for some reason they put Skane as my last name. And I was like, well, what if I did Ice Kane? And then it kind of sounds like the 80s, like Ice Kane, but then it's Ice Kane, like an iPhone. What do you think? You like that for my rap name? I'm I was gonna go with DJ Judo, but then somebody already had that, and then I didn't like all the DJ names. So, Take Me to Paradise. That, right? Got your chord uh, structure in here, right? Your key signature and your chord changes, right? Everything's looking groovy. He's like, "What's up with Ice Skane, man?" I was hoping that I could explain it. That was going to be in the trilogy. I was going to explain it in the trilogy. All right, let's jump over to the back to here. All right, so all five pieces now. So the chord charts in the edit window, right? We had a bass, a pad, a lead, and a counter melody, right? Now let's talk about this. Sorry, didn't mean to go. Let's talk about this. Ding. I carry my own sound effects along with me. So when 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 I'm writing a song, I usually try to get out what I call the rhythm section first. And that's basically what this is: a bass, like a pad, like a key, like a guitar, organ, something like that. A lead line, some kind of vocal or some sort of sax or trumpet, whatever, and a melodic counterpart, something to play around with the vocal. Right, so all four parts I want to be there, right, and then some kind of cool little ambient swishy sound to make it all glue together, right, and this is what we came up with. Now I'm probably going to take off that loop. I think it sounds like poop. I think that loop. I think it sounds like poop. So let's take it off. Everybody say, take it off. No, I'm kidding. Don't say that. All right, this loop. Yeah, check it out. I'm just gonna click it right here, right? I'm gonna go Shift Tab, all that stuff. Bop 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 bop. You know what? I'm gonna make it easier right here. I'm just gonna click right here, and I'm gonna turn this off and make it tab to clip. Go Shift Tab Option. Boom, right there, and hit delete. All right, so then I can go 1 2 3 and then shift and 1 2, and then I'll just recommit all of that because I like everything starting at measure 1. Commit. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Take me to paradise. Take me to paradise, paradise, paradise.
All right, so we did that. Now, so let's jump down here. Now, kind of like the other one, right? We got proper key and chord changes, right? Independent bass, live bass, independent lead. Notice that I only put two instruments. So if somebody is going to be clever, is like, oh, he didn't put counter melody and he didn't put pad, I guess I don't have to do it. Guess what? I'm going to copy one of these and I'm going to change the word lead line to either pad or counter melody, whichever one you didn't give me. So all four of them have to be there, right? So sorry, I make the rules, and that's just how it is. All right, but you got those four instruments and then some kind of cool little ambient effects track. All right. Now, in doing that, this is where I started getting the edit mix groups for mostly for editing. I liked having these because then if I made a selection in the vocals, let's get the vocals up. Do 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 do. If I made a selection here, it worked on all the vocals. And so I liked having that because that helps when I'm arranging and everything. So now people love people love groups when they're mixing as well. I just prefer to use subgroups when I'm mixing. But I do like groups when I'm editing. So check this out, party people. So we got all that. Now, we did render out some stuff with the audio suite. We did a snare drum earlier that I heard to go, and we've been using track colors, right? Everything's kind of colorized and looking nice. All right, so now let's go open up after we mixed it and everything sounded good. Let's see, that was 1928, 1951. All right, that's it. Yeah, here we go. Let's get this thing going, and then we'll have everything sounding nice, everything mixed. There we go. Do you know how many drummers it takes to change a light bulb? Oops, I broke it. Oh, that's too funny. You have to be a drummer to appreciate that joke. All right, so here we go. Sounding good now.
Take me to paradise. Take me to paradise. Take me to paradise. Take me to paradise. Take me to paradise with.
All right. So, if you'll notice, I've got some cool effects on those vocals, right? I got some verb and some delay happening. I got some EQ going on, some compression going on. We got some verb happening on those backgrounds. We got some verb happening in our drums and some delay in our drums. So, came out with a pretty cool mix. I like it.
Take me to paradise. Take me to paradise.
All right. So, I know I'm going to have a question because I had a question earlier about a master fader versus a sub master fader. So, we're going to hit that now. But let's see what we've got going on here. So, it says now a minimum of two subgroups. And now you see that I used a couple of aux tracks to do things like a vocal sub and a drum sub and an instrument sub. And while we're talking about that, I like having that because then I can quickly bring down all of the vocals or all of the drums or all of the guitars or all of the whatevers, all the background vocals, right? And then have everything going to a final submaster. Now, the difference between the submaster and the master is the submaster is just another aux track, and is only a submaster because of how I am using it, how I'm routing it. The master fader is a completely different kind of track, and you can see it side by side. I mean, check this out: no panning on a master fader. There's no inputs on a master fader. There's no sends on a master fader. There's no solos. There's no mutes on a master fader. And the inserts that are there, what was the only plugin I told you that you should ever put on a master fader? Do you remember that from last night? Are you wanting me to sing Jeopardy? Starts with a D, rhymes with dither. That's right, dither. And and the reason why the reason is that these are post fader inserts and these are pre fader inserts, and basically that means in the example, if I was, would everybody agree that one common way to end a song might be to fade it out, right? People fade songs out all the time, right? So if this was pre fader, right, as I pull down this fader, if this was a compressor in here, it would still be getting compressed, and that would work. But if I had a compressor over here, because this is post fader, as I was fading this out, there would be a time where the signal would not reach the threshold set in the compressor, and it would switch from being a compressed signal to an uncompressed signal, and that would not be a good idea. So that's just one small example of why I utilize this submaster and master scenario, because there are many times that people might want to put on maybe an EQ or a compressor on a final mix, and that would be totally fine. I would do that as well. Matter of fact, in my rack of goodies, I've got some nice tubes preamps with some line inputs in them, and so I'll actually hardware wire out at 7 and 8 and wire those bad boys in playback so that they can actually go through, and sounds like a nice little tube master fader that they're going through. So having some nice things. So let's look at this this and see what else we've got. So we've got our two subgroups. Everything is labeled. The only thing I will accept, if it's something is not labeled, that track better be empty, right? Like this aux 5, if I look at that, that better have nothing to do with it. And so I would actually probably rather you just make it inactive or delete it at this point, and not even worry about it. All right, so everything, every audio file, every clip, everything has to be labeled, right? That was one of the cool things. I think I even told you the other day that Mike told me. Mike Exeter, our grad, told me about mixing the song. He says everything was clean, everything was labeled, it was nice. So it makes a difference, you guys and gals. All right, so now when we were mixing, we also did a couple bounces, right? So let's we did our track colors. Two clips were rendered. So we did our vocal there, where we were kind of doing a little vocal edit, and we did our reversed with the audio suite, right? Notice that everything is labeled. If I've got automation, right? So you got your automation tracks. So automation written for volume pan and a plugin of my choice. The playlist must be shown. Your two subgroups, everything labeled. Two audio suites, all the track colors. And then we put dither on that master fader. And that should be the only one that has been delivered, right? So when we were doing that, let's go ahead and we'll kind of do that now. So when you get your master fader, command equals, right? And you're going to do your now I've already done my bounces, but I just didn't have my master fader on there yet. All right. So now I've got that, and we're going to save this. So now we're going to pretend this is the one we're going to save and turn in. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a save copy in. I'm going to make sure that I've got 2448 interleaved WAV files. Click my audio files button, hit OK. Boom. And this is where you got to make sure you take off the word copy of. Make sure you actually give me the song name. You can take off any other extensions that you've got. And you save it right there on the desktop. Now, make sure you pay attention. Everybody paying attention now? How many fingers am I holding up? Everybody paying attention? All right. Now, here we go. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Because it is on your desktop, notice it doesn't have a bounce, right? But notice that we wanted you to do bounces and we did 3 specific bounces, right? We did a mastered bounce, a non-mastered bounce, and a CD bounce. So what I want you to do is I want you to option drag that bounced folder over there so you give me all 3 bounces as well. Give me an ODBF for option drag bounced files. ODBF. Option drag the bounced files. And after you do that, then you can compress this It's going to take a while, probably about 5 minutes. So I'm going to tell a joke that's about 4 minutes long. All right? I'm kidding. Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. So now let's talk about a couple things here now. Let's go back over to the rubric. All right, so 3 bounces, a 16-bit 44 stereo interleave labeled CD, a 24-bit non-mastered stereo interleaved labeled non-mastered, and a 24-bit 48 interleaved named mastered, right? And then save those in the bounce folder, right? So that's what we just did, and that's how we got them over. So back over here, right, when we said create all these bounces, you have to do that option drag bounce copy in. Now, let's talk about turning this thing in. Everybody repeat after me. Upload is slower than download most of the time. If you even want to do, let's even just have fun. Let's see what old Steve is doing now. Let's do a speed test. Right? And let's see what my upload and download is. If anybody else wants to do this right now and tell me what you've got, I'd be interested. Just so we can kind of see. So it's starting now. All right. So boom, boom, boom. So here we go. Here we go. We're doing this. Now, granted, I pay for a business line. I'm just gonna say that right now. I pay for a business line, so don't freak out, because usually upload is a lot slower, right? Now, what did you experience? Right? Remember, I was doing virtual reality work. I had to have a strong upload. What's everybody throwing right now? Did anybody do that test? Now, usually this is slower, right? Um, it's going to take several hours for you to upload your file that you have zipped to Dropbox, right? It's going to take several hours. Give me an SH for several hours. Yep. All right. What I don't want to see is somebody sending me an email at 12:05 a.m. on Monday morning saying, "Steve, you wouldn't believe it. I can't believe it took 4 hours to upload my stuff. I started it at 9 o'clock, and it's still not." And I'm living over in Eastern, Western, Mountain, Pacific time zone. And all right, so check it out. So we did the save copy in. We checked our audio box. We named it with the actual flippin' name. Don't leave the... Oh, I'm going to count off extra points. And then we did our option copy bounced files over from the original session into this archive we just made. Then you can archive it and zip it, compress it. All right. So now we're gonna go over Dropbox. Remember, we asked you on week 1 to go over to go get a Dropbox account. So this is where you're gonna go to Dropbox, and they're gonna say, Steve, why are you leaving me? Why are you not paying? I want a free account. You gotta pay. Don't get a free. Don't pay them. Jeez, just get a free account. All right, but here's what you're gonna do. After you go a while, it's going to take a lot of time to upload this thing, probably 3 to 4 hours. And here's what you're going to do. If you wanted to share this with us, you're going to hit the share button, right? But here's what you're not going to do. You're not going to enter in your instructor's email address. You're not going to do that, right? You're going to create a link. And you're going to copy that link, right? And you're going to create a link to this file. And then you're going to go back here to week 4. To your remix project submission, as I like to call the RPS. And you're going to go in here, and you can't see it because, but you're going to paste in your shared link and hit save, and bam, that's how you do it, baby. That is how we do. Do not enter in my email, because look, I can't even get in there, right? I don't have enough store space, right? So let's go back here. All right. Upload your compress. Look at this. Everybody read this. It will take 3 to 4 hours to upload. Nobody told me their upload or download speed. Did y'all even try? Did anybody try? I'm just curious what people are experiencing around the country. Nobody's like, no, I didn't try, man. Sorry. Yeah, well, that's good. Cool. Thank you, Stan. All right, so create a link, right? Copy the link. Do not add our email address. And then just pop it in there and click, I've completed that activity. So give me a TI if you are cool with how to turn it in via Dropbox. Give me a question mark if you have got a question about it. Awesome. Well, yeah, the grand hustle. Well, I'm going to stick around as I always do after every lecture for my live class, see if we've got anything going on that we need to talk about. I've had a great month, everybody. Thank you so much for some great lectures and some great classes. I'm looking forward to hearing your lovely remixes as we do this thing. And now, give us a week or so to get those grades in, especially with the Labor Day weekend coming up. Everybody, please have a safe Labor Day weekend, and make sure you call that Uber if you need to. I want to thank Ben, Keith, Kyle, Rodney, Stan, Trey E, and Trey K for all being in the house tonight. It's been a great month, everybody. Again, my name is Steve Kane, here with the Audio Workstations class at Full Sail University. Make sure that you keep in touch with your teachers. Make sure you save the links to these lectures. You can always save them. We're going to leave them up as long as they let us. And as always, peace.